What are the chances? I've not sneezed all day. I think I might be allergic to the microphone. I turn the stream on and immediately need to sneeze. Hello, everybody. How are we all? Is everybody good? We're doing another one of our little live stream Q&A things. So first things first. First things first. Never been able to do my THs and my Fs properly. So first things first. I'm just going to check that we are live on YouTube as well as YouNow. It appears that we are, which is all good. So a little explanation of how the Q&As work for anyone who's new or who has forgotten the rules. Firstly, if you're watching on YouTube, please be aware I can't see the chat on YouTube. I can only see the chat on YouNow. So if you want to get involved in the Q&A, which we're going to be starting in a couple of minutes' time, you need to come over to YouNow. The link is in the description if you're watching on YouTube. It also gets regularly posted into the chat by the Kev bot that's over there on YouTube, telling you that I can't read the chat. The link is in there to tell you where to find me on YouNow, or you can just go to younow.com/Lelujo, open the YouNow app, search for Lelujo, search for Kevin Chapman. Any of these things are going to get you here to YouNow. So if you want to get involved in the Q&A, you must be on YouNow. I'm only looking at the chat that's on YouNow, so I'm not reading the YouTube chat. Also, rules of how the Q&A works. As ever, I have a cup of coffee, a full cup of coffee. As you can see, it's my favourite mug in the world, my Happy Lelujo Day mug. You've got the time it takes me to drink this complete cup of coffee to ask me as many questions as you would like here on YouNow, and I will answer as many of them as I possibly can. Questions can be on any topic. They don't need to be about anything in particular. I obviously won't be able to answer every single question that's asked, but I'll do my best to get through the interesting ones. But yeah, Q&A. Starting in a second. Once I've reminded the YouTube people again, if you want to do the Q&A, you've got to come to YouNow. I'm not looking at the YouTube chat. I cannot see the YouTube chat. So if you want to get involved in the Q&A, you can only do that here on YouNow. You can watch the whole thing over on YouTube. That's absolutely fine. But if you actually want to ask questions and you want me to see what you're typing in the chat, you can only do that here on YouNow. And that's younow.com/Lelujo. Or the link is down in the description. The link is in the chat over on YouTube as well. But I cannot see the YouTube chat. Is that clear? Good. Right, let's get into some questions. How's Andy after the bell ringing? Andy's fine. I still ache a lot. I am not used to that much of a full body workout in one go. Yes, it was just ringing a bell. But my word, it was hard work. How did Lucy find her first week in college? She's really enjoying it. She much prefers it to school. Massive improvement. When you went to Blackpool, I went that day to Blackpool. I was hoping to see you. It's a shame that you didn't. Hopefully you'll catch us somewhere else at some point one day. Andy is in the house getting ready for bed. What does YouNow do? It's just a place where you can live stream like we are right now. How was school today for Andy? What subjects did he have? That's not really how Andy's school works. He doesn't really have subjects. They just do little pockets of work throughout the day. He's always in the same room. He had a decent day. Any updates on the TA situation? He's not getting his TA back. Is the general update. She's in the room, but not going to be working one-to-one with Andy anymore. The general feeling is they don't think he needs a one-to-one TA anymore. And he doesn't have one-to-one provision as part of his EHCP, which is something we've been fighting for years, and they actually, as part of getting him back to school, managed to get him a full year of one-to-one TA, but it's not actually something he's legally entitled to for his EHCP. So they've kind of stretched the system for as long as they can. I can completely see where the school are coming from, and I have no complaints about the changes that have been made to the taxi, that have been made to the TA. My complaints are all about the communication and the fact that it was all just sprung on us and we didn't have the opportunity to prepare Andy. Luckily, though, he's taken it all in his stride and he's had another good day. He's absolutely fine. Stop ignoring me. I'm not ignoring anybody, but you can see how quickly the chat is moving. I can't answer every single question that comes in. There's a person being extremely vulgar in the YouTube chat. That's the main reason why I don't use the YouTube chat. My general thoughts on it are the numpties who are rude and horrible over on YouTube are either too thick or too lazy to come over onto YouNow and register an account to abuse me over here. So I just leave them over on YouTube abusing me and drowning in their own juices and whatever else they're doing. And yeah, That's why we have a nice, polite chat over here on YouNow. Twitch tonight. There's a very good chance for Twitch tonight. I haven't absolutely decided for sure. I haven't announced anything. Amy's staying here tonight for the first time in like 2 weeks because she was off at her mum's house doing stuff there for a couple of weeks. So I'm not entirely sure I'm going to Twitch stream. If I do, it will be half an hour or so after we finish this stream, and it will be Spider-Man again because I haven't touched Spider-Man since I finished on Twitch last week. What time is it in the UK? It's 6 minutes past 8. Can't wait for ejects on Thursday going to school. How many Funkos are there? It varies from year to year. There were fewer last year than there had been in previous years. I was a little bit worried the bubble had burst, but hopefully Comic-Con certainly had a lot of Funkos again this year, so I'm hoping they'll have got a few more again. But yeah, there's lots of stuff to buy there, definitely. How long have I been colourblind for? All my life. When did I get Spider-Man? Last week? Last Thursday? What made me create Through Andy's Eyes? He was recording the footage and wanted it on YouTube there was probably about a month or 6 weeks or so where we were uploading the footage onto my channel. So if you dig back through the archives on my channel, there's a Through Andy's Eyes playlist on there where for a little while we were uploading those videos on my channel, but we decided we wanted to separate it off and make him his own channel so that it didn't clog my channel up for people who didn't want to see that kind of content, but B, it allows him to take more ownership of it, and then when the time comes where he can take control of the channel for himself, it's a way for him to earn a little bit of money, maybe get himself a little bit of a part-time income through it. Who knows what the future holds. What would I rate Spider-Man out of 10? I don't do ratings out of 10. It's always been a policy on our podcast ever since we started 7 years ago. We don't do ratings out of 10 because they're usually corrupt. But in addition to that, I've only played 2 hours of Spider-Man, and for at least 45 minutes of that, I was just running from building to building and swooping from building to building, having a little bit of fun exploring New York. So it's far too early for me to give it a rating, if I was going to give it a rating, which I wouldn't do anyway. What does Andy do in the spa? Is it a hot tub? Yes, it's a hot tub. So he just sits in it and enjoys it. Does Andy still watch the Premier in adverts? Every single day, yes. I saw that you commented on a video about an autism-friendly hairdresser. Would you ever consider taking Andy to someone like her? If there was someone like her nearby, I would. It's the one that the BBC posted, isn't it, that you're talking about? She's down in Plymouth, so it's not realistic for us to go all the way to Plymouth just to get Andy a haircut. If there was someone like that local to us, we would absolutely take him there for sure. What would I rate Spider-Man out of 5? I don't do ratings for games. I don't believe in them. No, Andy's not adopted. Why does Andy sometimes pat the back of his neck? It's stimming. There's a few videos on the channel about stimming. My auntie is an autism-friendly hairdresser in Peterborough. Send me the details via email or Twitter or something, because we've been to a few different hairdressers in Peterborough and always been asked to leave, so I am interested. Is it the best Spider-Man? I've still only played 2 hours of it. I can't possibly judge a game after 2 hours. It would be unfair of me as a member of the gaming press, which I still really loosely am, but really loosely. Where did we get to? The chat's just jumped around on me and I'm a little bit confused and lost about where we were. Do I follow any other sports apart from football and wrestling? Not really. How do you make friends at university? So many make friends anywhere else, really. Just hunt out the people with similar interests to you. So generally, the only people I made friends with at uni were the people who were doing the same course as me. I didn't venture outside of my course at all, which is probably the worst way to do it. But there was like a couple of us who were quite like-minded on our course who got on quite well. The only one I'm still speaking to years later is Sheepdog, who does a podcast with me. So I guess I made friend at uni rather than friends at uni. So I don't think I'm necessarily the right person to answer that question. Where did we get to? Have I been to any football games recently? Not since the first day of the season, no. I've just trained as a hairdresser while at uni working to become a special needs therapist. Can I send my details over from Nottinghamshire? You can send them over for sure. Again, I'm not certain that we'd go all the way to Nottingham for a haircut for him, purely because he's got no interest in it being styled. We just have to shave it off, and we can kind of do that now anyway. But yeah, send your details over, definitely. How long have I been with Anna for? 6.5 years-ish. Is Andy still a fan of Ditty? He hasn't used Ditty for months, so I guess not. I'd forgotten all about that. Oh, that was annoying for a little while, wasn't it? Have I ever been on TV? I've been on TV a few times. Why did I start YouTube? Because it looked like fun. Who's my favourite wrestler? Kevin Owens. Who's my favourite superhero? Hawkeye. What's Andy's favourite thing to do at school? Probably playing on the iPad when he gets that is his reward between lessons, between like work sessions. His favourite subjects are maths and ICT. When does Anna go back to uni? She goes back to uni in 2 weeks, I think. What made me choose Anna from the catalogue? In her bio thing that was on there, one of the questions was, what's the most recent book that you've read? She put that the most recent book that she read was the novelisation of Dead Island, the video game. And I thought, seriously, this girl is enough of a nerd to not even lie on here about her most recent book. She's actually going to say on eHarmony that the most recent book she read was the novelisation of a video game. This seems worth pursuing. So I pursued. Why green and pink for my Lelujo football team shirt? Because they seemed like the most horrible clashing colours, and I didn't ever expect it to be made into a real shirt. It was when we were down at Sports Interactive for the Football Manager Creators Cup last year. We just had to make personalised shirts for it, and I wanted mine to be different from everyone else's and stand out and look silly. And in all honesty, I was looking for a little bit of screen time on the video that was being made for the tournament. So I thought, I know, let's do a really stupid shirt, because then they're going to ask me, Kev, why you got a stupid shirt? And that gets me a little bit more screen time in the video. So it was completely mercenary. But then people really liked it, so we ended up using it for my stream save, and then we ended up making the shirts, and we sold I think we sold about 60 of those shirts in the end, which is ridiculous that there are 60 shirts like that one in existence in the world that people have spent good money on buying. It's mad. If you had an option of YouTube or run your own radio station, which one would I choose? Wow, that's like the dream job that I have now compared to my dream job as a kid. Do you know that about me already? Have I talked about that before, or are you just plucking a similar thing out of the air? If you'd have asked me that question 20 years ago, I would have absolutely run a radio station. I actually think traditional radio and all traditional media is dying. So I think there's more of a future in being a YouTuber. I'm not necessarily saying YouTube as a website will outlive radio, but I think user-generated content will outlive traditional media. So I think being part of social media rather than traditional media, I'm on the right side of history. That's how it will be looked back on in years to come. So, YouTuber. Have I ever sat in the wooden seats of the London Road? I have, years ago. I don't really fit on that side of the ground at all. My legs are too long. Is Anna cutting her hours from work for uni? She only does like 11 hours a week at work. She does Friday mornings and then Tuesday afternoon into evenings. It fits in perfectly. Yes, Anna is Andy's mum. Do I miss teaching sometimes? Not really. What TV shows was I on? The most recent one I was on was called Football Fan TV, which this was probably about 2 years ago. It was hosted by Toby Tarrant, who's now a presenter on Radio X, and I was there mainly because of my YouTube channel, but we then didn't talk about YouTube at all or Football Manager. They just interviewed me as a posh fan, but they approached me because of my YouTube channel. It was a really weird interview, but I was on there for like half an hour or so on screen, and it was a fun day. It was quite an eye-opener into how live TV works. It was on some obscure Sky channel. I think you could probably find that clip on YouTube somewhere if you really, really looked. I don't have it. I can't direct you towards it, but I know it probably does still exist. And I've been on a few other little bits here and there, like the news and stuff, but nothing as an actual... nothing proper apart from that. Where did we get to? Isn't he? He is Chris Tarrant's son, yeah. How tall is Andy? I would guess 5'1". Yes, I've seen All In. I really enjoyed it. Apart from the rude bit in the middle, which I thought was just a little bit childish and silly and a little bit too Attitude Era-y. I wasn't a massive Attitude Era fan. Where is Andy on the spectrum? That's not really how it works. He's on it. and he has lots of different skills and abilities and difficulties, and they're all at various points on various spectrums. It's far too complicated to generalise as here's a spectrum, how far along this line he is. That's not really how it works. Does Andy believe in God, or does he just really like churches? I mean, it's not really something that he can put into words. So I assume he doesn't, because he never talks about God. But he might do. He perhaps doesn't know how to put it into words. But I think really he just really likes churches. How materialistic am I? He says, sat in front of all this stuff. Medium, I guess. I'm not into houses and cars and clothes and all this stuff that a traditionally materialistic person would be into. I'm a collector, so I like to collect things like pop vinyls, like comic books, like video games. But aside from the things that I collect, t-shirts and mugs would be other things as well that I collect. But aside from the things that I collect because I think they're cool, I really couldn't care less about other stuff. So I guess depending on what category of being materialistic you're looking at, I'm either really far along it or not on it at all. Sorry that I keep sniffing, by the way. I think I've got a cold coming on. I know it sounds awful and looks awful, but it's better than me having snot dribbling down my face, surely. I did have a toilet roll out here that Anna threw at me the other week when I was sniffing before, but I don't know where it's gone. I must have taken it back in the house. Just as a reminder as well, because how far into? We're about 15 minutes into the stream. So just as a reminder for anyone who is watching on YouTube, you'll have seen it come up in the chat loads of times by now. But just a reminder, because I can see there are still people over there chatting a lot, which is fine. Chat amongst yourselves, but I can't see the YouTube chat. I'm not watching the YouTube chat at all. If you want to be able to chat with me, if you want me to see what you're typing, you need to come over to YouNow. So it's younow.com/Lelujo, or the link is constantly being posted in the chat by the Kev bot, or it's down in the description, or it's on my social media. There's lots of ways you can find me on YouNow, but that's the only way I'll see what you're typing. I'm not seeing anything that's coming up on YouTube. I'm not looking at the YouTube chat at all. So if you want me to see what you're typing, come over to YouNow with us. Yes, I'm going to Nottingham Goose Fair. I can even tell you when we're going. I've already got it planned. We'll be going there the first Saturday of October. Oh, I'm really sorry about the sniffling. I need Anna to be watching the stream, so she brings me some tissues out. Where did the name Lelujo come from? It's just made up. It's just a made up word. Does money motivate me? Not really. I mean, I gave up a well-paid job to do something that pays a fraction of what I was paid before because I enjoy doing it. So obviously everyone would like more money. I work now, I obviously spend my time now trying to earn more money, but ultimately if money was all that motivated me, I would pack this nonsense in and go back to being a teacher, where I double my income instantly by going back to teaching. So yeah, I guess I'm not really motivated by money. Yes, I am doing YouTube full time. I have been for over a year now. I've been doing YouTube full time. Am I into Halloween? Not even a little bit. Do you not think the male and female t-shirts could be controversial due to people identifying as gender neutral? Not my opinion, just wondering. I think anyone who wants to see them in that way probably needs to try and see them in the context they're intended to be shown in. It's a little in-joke because Andy says male and female. When he first gets off the minibus in the evening, if I'm at the door, he yells male. If Anna's at the door, he yells female. Whenever he sees someone for the first time, the first thing he does is say whether they're male or female. So it's a little funny thing about the way Andy is as a person. We're not saying, there's only two options. I think anyone who gets the knickers in a twist about it probably needs to go and watch someone else, because they're not trying to understand the story behind the shirt. They're just choosing to be offended about something they've not learned anything about. So yeah, if anyone's really offended by it, just unsubscribe. How challenging is being a YouTuber? I mean, it's hard work, definitely. I mean, every job has its challenges. You get out what you put in. I'm at a point now where we can just about pay our bills with the money that we bring in. I could flick it over into cruise control at this point, and we'd be fine. Unless YouTube moved the goalposts again, we'd be fine. We'd be able to just about pay our bills for as long as the income stayed at that level. But I want more than that. I don't want to just about pay our bills. I want to go back to how we were before. I want a reasonably comfortable life. I would like to be able to, at some point, say that actually not only was it better for my family and better for my sanity to leave what I was doing and come and do this, it's actually worked out better for us financially in the long term too. So I'd like to end up eventually 2, 3, 4 years down the road earning more doing this than I was earning as a teacher. So it continues to be a challenge, continues to be hard work, because I'm constantly pushing it and trying to grow and trying to get more out of it. But yeah, I probably could flick over into cruise control, and it could probably be quite easy to do at this point if I let it be easy. Is Anna going to pursue a career after her degree? Yeah, definitely. That's why she's doing the degree. She wants to do that job. I understand you two are busy, especially as Anna is at school, but is the autism podcast still an idea? It's definitely still an idea. We bought all the equipment for it. We are ready to go. It's literally just about finding the time, and I'm still not sure where that fits in. Anyone who does follow my gaming stuff as well will know that our gaming podcast, me and Anna have been missing from more often than we've been on it in the last few months, because we just can't find the time to do it. My Twitch streaming has just fallen off completely because I can't find the time to do it. So I have to prioritise those things that already exist. And so we need to get back to the point where I'm on a regular Twitch schedule, where I'm back on the gaming podcast every week. And if we can get to that point and then find a pocket of time, then definitely we'll start the autism podcast. But I don't want to add something else to the mix when we don't have enough hours in the day to do the stuff that we already do. Kev, what do you think about taking Andy to a relaxed theatre performance? We've done that before. Well, not theatre, but cinema. So yeah, I guess we would, but I don't know that you'd enjoy it, to be honest. Is there a link from the house into the garage, or do you have to come out? No, there's no door. I've got basically the way it's set up is behind me is what was the garage door, but that's now completely blocked off and inaccessible. So the only way in and out is through the utility room. So this room backs into our utility room, and then there's a door from the utility room into the garden, and then I have to go through the garden into the dining room. It's a weird setup. I don't know what they were thinking when they designed this house. Why did I retire from roller coasters? Because I hated them. I never enjoyed roller coasters, and I got old enough to say, actually, I don't enjoy this. I'm going to stop pretending to enjoy it and just stop doing it. Because everyone gets to that point where they're old enough to stop caring what people think and just thinking for themselves. So, yeah, I started thinking for myself and decided, you know what, I don't enjoy this, so I'm going to stop pretending. Do I prefer having a routine when it comes to YouTube, or is it more daily life where you prefer a routine? I don't necessarily. I have everything. I kind of have set up with routine. I love routine in everything I do. So yeah, everything. When would I like to hit 100k? We said at the start of the year, January 1st this year, we said we wanted 100k this year. I think we're still on target to do it. We're in September now, and we're closing in on 70,000 and entering the busiest time of year for YouTube. So I would try and hide it, but I would be quietly quite disappointed if we got to New Year's Eve and we hadn't hit 100,000, because I think we've got such a load of momentum behind us at the moment that something has to go wrong somewhere at this point for us to not hit 100k this year. So hopefully nothing goes wrong. But the nature of YouTube, the algorithm could change tomorrow, and our videos might not be searchable anymore. We might not be coming in recommended anymore, and we might have to rebuild from there. Likewise, I could wake up tomorrow morning and be in trending for something, and then we'd hit 100,000 this week. So the end of the year is what we're hoping for. Would you consider getting Andy a phone? Andy has a phone, he just has no interest in it. Do I ever get sick of FM? Over 25 years in, I haven't done so far. What games does he play on his 2DS? Not very many. At the moment, he's been playing... What has he been... Nintendogs is the big thing at the moment. Before that, he's played Animal Crossing. He had a little go on Pokemon, but didn't really get into it. He had a Sims racing game. There's been a few things over the years, but not a huge amount. You say Andy has made progress in a year. Do you think he's growing out of autism? I mean, that's not really a thing that happens. Would we ever do a house tour? Probably not. We have a really small house. Would you be comfortable if Andy decided to stay away from meat forever and be a vegetarian? I'd be absolutely comfortable with that as long as he was getting his protein from somewhere. The reason we're always trying to get him to try meat is because the big deficit in his diet is protein. So if he decided he was going to eat a lot of beans, then that's fine. Don't eat meat. For as long as he's got a protein deficit, we'll always be trying to get meat into him, though. Just, he needs protein. How old is Andy? Andy's 14. Does Andy have teenager needs, like a girlfriend, time on his own, or anything? Ish. I don't really want to get into that now. We've talked about it on videos before. Will you ever let Andy play a WWE video game? I mean, there's been a few questions worded like that recently. I don't know if it's just the way people are wording questions, or if there's a feeling out there that we don't let him do certain things. Because there was one that was in the video that came out today when someone said, would we allow him to eat noodles? Well, yeah, of course we would. If he wants noodles, he can have noodles. Likewise, if he wants to play a WWE video game, then he can play the WWE video game. It's not that we don't let him, it's that he has no interest in it at all. If I really struggle for money, would I consider going part-time in a factory with agency? No, not because I'm above all that, but because if I was really, really short of money and needed to go and get a job, I'd just do supply teaching, and I'd earn more money doing that. What is bonfire night like with Andy? We don't go out. We sort of stand in the doorway of the house and look up at the sky and see a few fireworks, and that's about it. I'm seeing a lot of repeated questions. Does Andy ever make eye contact? Sometimes. Is it hard having an autistic child? Because my dad says it is. I mean, having any child has its challenges. They're just different challenges. I wouldn't say it's necessarily harder than having a neurotypical child, because there's a whole load of different challenges. Yeah, we have to be much more tightly routined with Andy, and he's much more dependent on us than he would be if he was neurotypical. But at the same time, he's a 14-year-old boy who's in the house from 4 o'clock every day. We don't have to worry about him going out there and getting in a gang or doing drugs or drinking, or we don't have to search him for knives and cigarettes and all that kind of stuff. So there's different challenges. I don't think just like every person is an individual, every child is an individual. They all need their own individually tailored parenting, and I don't think anyone is just blanket harder. Yeah, autism, that means they're harder to parent. I disagree with that as a statement. Can you do a parenting autism video on the subject of relationships and Andy growing up? You decide if you want to. See, the thing with stuff like that is, and this is one of the reasons why we didn't end up doing the stereotypes one, he's never had a relationship and he hasn't grown up yet. So it's really difficult for us to do a video based on that, because people could ask all sorts of questions and our answer to most of them would be, don't know yet. We'll have to see how it turns out. Not sure. Because we're very... One of our big certainties as parents is we don't plan to live his life for him. So we want him to be as independent as he can possibly be, and we don't know what that looks like yet. It depends on how he develops. And we want him, as much as possible, to be able to make his own choices and his own decisions. And again, we don't know what those choices and decisions would be. So it's close to impossible for us to know what Andy's going to be like, what Andy's going to be doing in 5 years, in 10 years, whether he's going to show an interest in having a relationship, that kind of thing. It's close to impossible for us to know. It would all be wild speculation. And I don't think it would make for a particularly good video. Can Andy ride a bicycle? No, but he can ride a tricycle. It's a balance thing more than anything. He knows the mechanics of it, but struggles with the balance. Who's my favourite? I've already answered that. There's a lot of questions coming in that I've already answered. I don't know if people are just arriving and just asking the first thing that comes to mind, which is fine, but I'm not going to re-answer the same questions, or whether there's some of you who are just spamming the chat with the same questions over and over again and not actually listening for the answer, because there's a few of these that have been asked pretty constantly since the start of the stream. Well, I'd like to think that those of you who have been around for the start could maybe answer for me, so I don't have to get stuck into the same questions again. And if you have been asking it all the way through, there's a good chance I've answered it, and you perhaps just need to go back and rewatch the stream afterwards. What happened to my old wife / partner? Nothing. She's fine. Will you ever do a house tour or garage tour? Probably not. Does Andy understand sarcasm or irony? Not really. Can you go inside a church with no issue? Usually. Sometimes they're locked, but usually you can. But I do see lots of these questions are questions that I've already answered tonight. Do I have any investments in stocks and shares outside of my pension? No. How is it so bright? It's 8:30. What, where you are or where I am? Because it's pitch black where I am. I've just got my studio lighting on. My boyfriend's playing Spider-Man and I'm trying to persuade him to let me play after the stream, of course. That sounds like a good plan. Does Andy understand the concept of puberty? It's not something we've ever been able to have a conversation about, so I'd probably not. I don't think so. Have I ever bought Bitcoin? I've never bought Bitcoin. I do own some Bitcoin. Not like I don't own a complete Bitcoin, but when I was a teacher, one of my students was working on a Bitcoin farming thing, and I ended up I've got like a fraction of a Bitcoin. It's like maybe 50 quid's worth. It's nothing major, but it started out as like probably 10p's worth years ago when it was first farmed, and has developed nicely from there. I don't really keep track of it. I don't even know if I know my login anymore, but yeah, there's some Bitcoin knocking around somewhere. Do YouTubers have a pension? You can have a pension. I don't currently pay into a pension, but I have my teacher's pension still, which I was paying into while I was teaching, and I've got pensions from my previous jobs as well. So up until I started doing this, I've always had a pension. And as and when we're a little bit more financially comfortable, I'll just get a private personal pension thing, whatever I'm a financial advisor, for goodness sake. Personal pension, that's what they're called, isn't it? Or a stakeholder pension or something. I'll just get one and pay into it. It's just silly not to, really. Does Andy understand that YouTube is my job? I don't think Andy understands the concept of job. He understands YouTube. He understands I make YouTube videos every day, but I don't think he understands. He doesn't really fully understand the concept of money. He knows that in a shop you use your card and then you get to take the stuff away, but I don't think he really gets what money is or where it comes from. And certainly that people have to go out to earn money. Would I ever play games with fans? I have done before. I would do again if it was the right game. It's very rare for that right game to come up. I'm not really a multiplayer kind of chap. Does Andy have a bank account? He has a savings account, but as and when his channel becomes monetized, we'll have to get him a proper bank account to have his ad revenue paid into. Am I Andy's real dad? No. What is a social story? It's a way of uses images and symbols to explain a situation that somebody's going to be in. So you might set up a social story for the routine of going to school. So it would maybe have a picture of getting up out of bed, a picture of cleaning your teeth, a picture of going to the toilet, a picture of eating breakfast, a picture of getting dressed, a picture of however you like the taxi or the bus or walking or your bike to get to school, a picture of the school itself. And it just breaks down that routine step by step using symbols and images as well as words to explain what a situation that could cause anxiety is going to be like. How come Andy doesn't really talk? He does talk. He talks loads. He's very careful about what he says. He doesn't talk unless he feels the need to. Is it true minimum wage is up to... I have no idea what minimum wage is. I've never earned minimum wage in my life. And that's not to say I never had a low-paying job. When I had a low-paying job, the minimum wage didn't exist. And by the time minimum wage started existing, I was earning more than that. So I've never been paid minimum wage, so I wouldn't have a clue. If the video wasn't up at 5 p.m, would it mess with Andy's routine? Yeah. What happened to Andy's dad? Nothing. What time does he finish school? He starts at 9, finishes at 3. Where is he right now? In bed. Can Andy help with my French homework? Only if it's numbers. He can do numbers. If you say a word that Andy doesn't understand, does he ask what it means? No. No. I don't think he cares. Generally, he's not that bothered what other people are saying. He doesn't really care what we've got to say. He's only really interested in his side of communication. And even that, he's not that into communication. He just, as long as he can do what he wants to do, he's fine. Have I ever lost my temper with Andy? Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't really lose my temper, but it depends how you. I mean, I would say I don't really have a temper, but I've become very frustrated with him at various times. I've become exasperated with him at various times. I've never shouted at him and called him names or been violent or anything like that. Depends how you define losing your temper. But, there've been times where he's bitten us and kicked out at us and headbutted us. I've been headbutted in the nuts before. It really hurts. I've been kicked in the back of my knee not long after I tore my ACL and it crumpled me down onto the floor. So there have been times where I've had enough. But you've always got to remind yourself that he's not doing it on purpose. So it would be really harsh to treat him as if he was. It's difficult. Do I see Andy being able to move out? That's another one of those questions where it would just be wild speculation. Maybe. Don't know. When you ask if he's had a good day, does he just say yes to shut you up? Yeah, absolutely. A lot of Andy's communication is just he's learned what the correct answer is to end the conversation as quickly as possible. Someone asked today in the comments about suggesting that we should take Andy to the supermarket and just walk around the supermarket with him and let him fill the trolley with the stuff that he wanted to see if there's anything new that he'd like to eat, which sounds like a great idea in principle. But in reality, he knows that in order to leave a supermarket, you have to get a certain number of things. So he'd find out how many things we were there to buy, and then he would pick up that number of things, and they would be the nearest things because it would all be about trying to get out of the supermarket. So his logical process works very differently to how my logical process would work or your logical process might work. So yeah, he doesn't want to have a conversation with me about how school was when he gets home from school because he knows how school was. He was just there. So there's no benefit to him in talking about how school was because he already knows. He doesn't need me to know. He doesn't care if I know. He's got no interest in the social interaction of me finding out. He just wants me to shut up and leave him to it. So he's learnt that the quickest and easiest way to get me to stop asking him about school is to say, yes, he's had a good day. And now it's become a routine where if I don't ask him, he'll say to me, have you had a good day? And he's not asking me if I've had a good day. He's trying to get me to mimic what he's saying. He's telling me to ask him so he can say yes. And it's just routine. It has no meaning behind it anymore. Has Andy ever said no when you asked him how school was? No. For those exact reasons, he would always just say yes. Do you think Andy would ever turn the camera around and vlog? Hopefully, one day. Who knows? Do you think Andy would care if a stranger sat in your living room one day? No. I don't think he'd care at all. Which is terrifying, really. But yeah, I don't think he'd care. As long as he was stocked up on crisps and pop, and as long as the internet stayed connected and his iPad was there, he doesn't care who's in the room with him. Have we considered speech therapy for Andy? It's not something that's ever been offered to us, so we're not in a position where we could go private for anything. So if something's not offered to us through the NHS, it's not something we can consider. I don't know how important it is, really. He can communicate when he wants to. It's not speech therapy. Having speech therapy, I don't think would help him with his communication because it still wouldn't give him a reason to communicate. All it would do was teach him more habits to get into, more social routines, which I've got no interest in making him someone who can pretend to be neurotypical in social situations. I don't see how that benefits anybody. So, yeah, I don't really get the point. Are the NHS good in terms of autism treatment? Again, same thing really. There isn't any treatment. He doesn't get any treatment for it. He is autistic. He'll always be autistic. It's just about helping him live his life to the fullest for him. A lot of treatments, well, warning, Kev might be about to get on his soapbox, but a lot of autism treatments are about teaching the autistic person to fake being neurotypical. And I don't get the point of that, because they've not magically been made neurotypical, they've been taught how to fake it. So all that's going to mean is someone who perhaps meets them for the first time will not realise that they're autistic. And then when they do display an autistic behaviour, they're not going to understand why, and it can cause all sorts of problems. How's the coffee? The coffee is nearly gone. If he couldn't get out of the house, what's the worst thing that could happen if you left him alone for 10 minutes? It depends what happened to him. The worst thing that can happen if we left him alone for 10 minutes is that something went wrong. So the electricity went off, or his iPad broke, or there was no food nearby when he wanted food, at which point he could smash everything and really badly hurt himself. Does Andy ever say what he wants to be when he's older? No. Hi Kevin, watching your videos for a few minutes now. How long in the relationship with Anna did you find out Andy was autistic? Before I met her. Andy doesn't really have a best friend. Has Andy started hitting puberty? Yes. Does Andy use cams for anxiety or anything at all? Yes. He is under the care of cams, and he gets an anti-anxiety medication that he takes every day. Does Andy have any physical conditions? He has like hypermobility in his joints, which is how he can get his foot up round his shoulders and stuff. But other than that, no. Does Andy understand any form of health and safety? Nope, which is a big issue. I'm so sick of people talking about autism in such negative ways. It's not a processing error, it's a different OS. Exactly. So that's a much more succinctly put version of what I was trying to say. We don't need to treat autism, we need to accept it. And I think that's a major issue in society as a whole. The whole autism acceptance movement is great and is making great strides for people who kind of already get it. But for the wider public who don't really understand, the message for them is still that it's an illness or a disease that we want to try and cure, we want to make better, we want to try and fix. That's one of the reasons behind the Different Is Not Broken shirts, because we are very keen to share the message that having autism is not, you're not broken, you're just different. It's exactly what the shirts stand for. And I'd like to think we're doing our bit to get that message out there, but it's a long battle. What would happen if you treated Andy normally? We do treat Andy normally. You and Andy have such an amazing relationship, so lovely to see. Ah, yeah, that's very cool. Thank you. Does your dog help Andy with his anxiety? No, he probably causes some of it. Oh, we originally did get Dave to work with Andy because someone suggested to us that he would find it easier to bond with a dog than with humans, because he did. It's the thing that people keep asking about. How many friends has he got? Who's his best friend? He's never really had a friend, and we got the same message from a few different sources that he might bond better with a dog. So we got a dog, and they've just never got on. I think Dave's too boisterous and excitable, but we deliberately got a gun dog because we wanted a dog that could cope with a little bit of rough play and could cope with the sudden loud noises that you get with Andy. So we had to get a gun dog, but the problem with getting a gun dog is that he's so excitable, and Andy doesn't like it at all. So they've kind of learned over the years to just stay away from each other. We used to have issues with Dave jumping up to Andy the way he jumps up at everyone else to get a rub and affection, but Dave doesn't do that anymore. And likewise, Andy, when Dave was somewhere that he didn't want him to be, Andy's reaction would be to just pull him by the tail to get him away, and Andy doesn't do that anymore. So they're better with each other than they were, but I don't think Andy gets any benefit at all out of Dave being around. Enjoying WWE at the moment. Yeah. How long will we sell the merch for? We'll just keep selling it until people stop buying it, I think. What we don't want is a dead merch store, because I think it kind of sends the wrong message out to people. So if we get to the point where we're not really selling any of it, then we'll stop selling it. We'll take it off sale for a little while and maybe come back with some different stuff a few months later. But for as long as it's selling, and there's been a pretty good response to it so far. We've been pretty happy with the response we've had. And there should be, social media should be full of different Is Not Broken and male and female shirts in no time as people start getting those come through, which would be very cool. But if we had a month where we didn't sell anything, or we sold like 2 shirts, then we'd probably take it off sale, because it feels a little bit like you look like you're going out of business if you're not selling anything. Will we do anything for 100k subscribers? It really depends on when we hit it and what ideas we come up with. I'm not sure. We'll see. How would Andy react in an emergency, such as a robbery or a fire? Not well. That would be a horrible situation, and I hope we never have to deal with it. Why did I break up from my past partner? That's not really a thing that I'm going to share on the internet. Not because I don't want to share it, because I don't think she'd want me talking about her in public, which is why I never have and I never will. She wants to keep her life private, so I respect her wishes, and she keeps her life private. So yeah, that's not really a thing that I'm ever going to talk about. You have to wait for my memoirs when I'm 70. Do I think Andy will ever be able to get a job? Another one of those questions that we can only speculate on. Hopefully, maybe, who knows? How old's Dave? Dave is 4 now. Do you think Andy thinks of you as his dad? Yeah, I think he does. Does Andy do chores? I mean, he picks his rubbish up off the floor and stuff, but not really. No, not really. Used to do a dog vlog with Andy and the dog. Maybe go to the church so they could bond. Maybe. Right, I am on my last mouthful of coffee now, so we are going to be ending the stream in a couple of minutes' time. So if you've been sat there, not sure whether to ask your question or not, now is the time to ask the question. For those of you watching on YouTube, you've got like 2 minutes to get over to YouNow to ask a question, because remember, I can't see the YouTube chat. I can only see the chat here on YouNow. So you've got like 2 minutes to ask final questions while I finish off my coffee. Would I ever move house if the YouTube channel blew up again? We would like to move house. I'm 36 now. I've always wanted to go and live in a big city. It's not something I can realistically do while the girls are still young, while they're still living here part of the time, because their mum's not going to move with us. So we need to be able to carry on sharing custody. But certainly once Amy's the sort of age Lucy is now, like 16-ish, so maybe starting sixth form, starting college, I think at that point, where are we? We're 4 years away from that. I'd like to think at that point we'll be moving to a city, wherever that city is, Nottingham or London or Birmingham or Manchester or New York or LA. Who knows? Tokyo. Who cares where the city is? I would like to think when the time comes where I'm free to travel a little bit more, that we will go and live in a big city, because I love city life. I love when I go to cities. I love busy and excitement. So I don't want to live out in the sticks forever. So we'll definitely move. We're probably not going to be moving anytime soon, though, because we're settled here. Andy's settled here. We don't pay a lot of rent. The house is a bit of a dump because I've lived here 15 years. And I have a nice arrangement with my landlord where he doesn't put the rent up, but he also doesn't do any repairs. So with this stuff that's broken, there's stuff that needs updating, there's decorating that needs doing. And he basically has said to me, do as much as you want, but my view on it kind of is, well, it's not my house. I'll do stuff when it becomes unbearable to not do it. But like the wall behind Andy's chair, for example, I know it needs painting, but it's not my house. So if it ever really, really gets on my nerves, but landlord's not going to paint it, because if he starts doing regular maintenance, we'll have to start paying actual market rent, which I don't want to do. Yeah, it's a nice arrangement we're in. The kitchen needs replacing. The bathroom needs replacing. The fridge freezer is the landlord's, and it's a total disgrace. There's broken shelves in it and all sorts. But he's not going to replace it. I'm certainly not going to replace it. So while it still keeps food cold, we'll make do. And I would guess it links back to that question right from the start of the stream where someone asked if I'm materialistic. I guess that shows that for a lot of things I'm not materialistic at all, because I genuinely don't care about my house or about my car or about any of that stuff. The house is literally just a place where I sleep and keep my collections of things. So as long as I can keep my stuff here, and as long as there's somewhere to put my cameras and my computers and that kind of gear that I need to do my job, I don't care if the house looks pretty. I don't care if the car has scratches on the side of it. It's just, I don't care. It doesn't mean anything to me, that kind of stuff. Am I going to do Twitch after this? I probably am, but it won't be straight after this. It won't necessarily be straight at 9 o'clock, because I need to go and head back into the house, check in on Amy and check in on Anna and see how everybody's doing. And have I heard of Downham Market? I have heard of Downham Market. Would I shave as a celebration for 100k? No, because I think we're definitely going to hit 100k, and I definitely don't want to shave. So no, I might shave if we ever hit 10 million views on a video, or if we hit a million subscribers. If we hit 1 million subscribers next year, I might shave. It's like something really unlikely I might shave for, but something that's going to happen anyway. Nah. Do I enjoy wearing a two-piece suit? No. You said, I know I said 2 minutes. I need to stop talking. I've got to go and do Twitch at some point. Right, it's empty. Yeah. So one more question. Next question that I see, I'm going to answer. Do the girls watch the vlog? Sometimes. There you go. That was the final question. Thank you very much to those of you who have joined me for this stream this evening. We aren't going to be doing another one tomorrow night. And Amy said she's going to join me tomorrow night because it's Anna's work night tomorrow. So it will just be me, Andy and Amy tomorrow night. So once Andy's tucked up in bed, I think me and Amy are going to sit and do a stream together. We might even do it a little bit earlier with Andy. But generally, when I turn the streaming gear on and Andy's around, he just goes upstairs. So there's not much point in doing it while he's still up, but we might do. We'll see how tomorrow goes. So certainly tomorrow evening there'll be another stream, and then we'll see where we go from there. But for those of you who have joined me this evening, thank you very much for hanging out with me, for your support as well. There's been a lot of very kind donations coming this evening, so thank you very much to those of you who've tipped and donated and super chatted and whatever else it's called. I don't know the terminology. Thank you for the support. I'll see you again here soon. And those of you who do enjoy video games, twitch.tv/LalujoFM, I will be over there in the next 20 minutes or so, and hope to see some of you over there. Toodle pip, folks.